Hey everybody, it's Erica from In the Company of Cards. A little late in the day for me, for all of us, but inquiring minds want to know. So we know that the Correspondents' Dinner, the Washington Press Correspondents' Dinner, was abruptly truncated because of the uh, shooter in the building. I just want to know what that was all about. We know that afterwards, after the building was evacuated and all of that, the felon gave a press briefing. I did not watch it. I mean, I saw it, but I had the sound off because, you know, I did hear that he likened himself to Abraham Lincoln and other presidents who had been, against whom attempts had been made, if you get my drift. So anyway, I just want to know, is this another Butler, Pennsylvania thing, a fake thing, or was it a real thing? If it was a real thing, what was that about? We know that a single gunman has been arrested, was at the hospital being evaluated. That's all we know. So I'm just going to look and see what can we learn this evening about that situation. So this will be quick, but um, I didn't want to leave you hanging. Not sure whether the reading will leave you any less hanging, but we'll try. Okay, so we're looking for the scythe because the scythe, this is the card for that kind of attempted violence. Okay, so here it is. It is the second card that I pulled, which means that it's going to be the second card in the line. There's only one card in front of it, which was the letter, which means that those are the first two cards. Now I'm pulling the rest. Okay. And then I'll pull clarifiers. So I did my own spread. This is a 23 card spread. Just to put it, succinctly, it's a line of five with three clarifiers for each of those five cards, and then a three-card postscript. So we have the letter, we have the scythe, which stands for the shooting. In the center, isn't it interesting that we have the fox? We have the lily, and then we have the tower. So we know that this person breached a Secret Service perimeter. I saw a picture of him on the ground. Looked like they'd um, taken his clothes, handcuffed. He's on his stomach, handcuffed in the back. Um, the letter. It's such an amorphous card, which in some ways makes it really fluid and flexible and helpful. But here, who knows what it could be? It's anything in writing. It could be the Epstein files, it could be votes, it could be anything. The second card, of course, is this incident. I do think it's really interesting that we have the fox in the middle. A fox is a lot of things, but here in this reading, it's someone who is, again, sly, tricky, has a hidden agenda, which obviously a gunman would have. The fourth card is the lily. And I find that kind of interesting because only because I can mirror it with the second card, which is the scythe. Um, we are being put through it. I'm exhausted. I know you all are. And it's the kind of exhaustion that a good night's sleep will actually not necessarily help. Um, so it could have been someone who's just over this whole era that we are in and wants to, um, in his warped mind, bring people peace by just putting an end to you know what. And then we have the tower at the end. And the tower makes me suspect that this could be a lone person, but I'm not so sure because there are other cards that say otherwise. So let's go back to this letter that could mean so many different things. And we have clarifiers of the sun, the stork, and the ring. For all we know, this person may have a document like a manifesto or a letter that he wrote, a journal entry, something like that, where he's saying, I want to make things better. So I thought if I got rid of who I got rid of, it would improve things. And I was committed to that cause. Uh, Here we have the situation, but the clarifiers are the child, the clouds, and the star. This person who did this is young, I think, and immature. And of course, to do such a thing, you have to be not of sound mind. And that's what this card is, not of sound mind, and probably under the influence of some substance, because one of the meanings for star is pills. So I think he was under the influence of something. I think beyond that, there are mental health issues, as there always are when it's these kinds of things. I do think the person was young and just not well. Now, here's what's interesting. I think this is in some ways the most interesting line. We have this fox, somebody who thinks they can get away with something. The clarifiers, though, are what interests me. We have the bouquet, the fish, and the felon. I think that this person felt that if they did the deed, they would be handsomely rewarded for their action because this is like a reward. This is money. This is emotion. I think that they thought they would be hailed as a hero if they did this. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm not saying anything. Okay. Then we have the lily. And, this is a card for peace. So when I was reading horizontally, in this person's disordered mind, they thought that doing this would bring us some peace. Now, of course, I'm going vertically, so it could mean something else. The clarifiers are the whip, the mountain, and clover. So I think this just speaks to the fact that he may have thought that, but um, you know, he got thwarted. He was stopped quick, fast, and in a hurry um, with that clover there. I saw it didn't look very disciplined, the response. But that was in the room, the banquet room where everybody was. Outside the room, he tried to breach the Secret Service perimeter, but he never actually got into the room where the president and everybody else was. So there was a disciplined response that stopped him faster than he could do anything. Okay, final card in the line of five is the tower. And the clarifiers are the cross, the woman, and the garden. So if this is the current government, which a lot of times this is what that would be, but I also think it's a lone actor. I think it could be a lone actor. Um, Sacrificing himself. I think it's interesting that this woman card pops up. One wonders what instigated him to this action. Is it the whole Epstein situation? It could be. Um, and I also think he thought he was acting pro bono publica for the good of the public. Now, I have this three card postscript. So, is there anything else I can say? We have the book, the anchor, and the heart. Now, the book is about secrets, things that are hidden, things that we're not meant to know. Um, and the anchor feels very much like, to me, it feels very much like the ring, that he was committed to this action and that it was an ideological stance that he was taking, obviously, right? I mean, you don't do this kind of thing on a lark. So, um, I think they were young. I think they have a disordered mind. I think that they have an agenda, their own agenda, which is, um, again, thinking this was for the good of the country. I don't think it was more than that. I really don't. I don't get the impression that there are, well, wait a minute. Okay, I take it back. I was going to say I don't get the impression that there were others involved, except that I want to go back to my fox. We know that a fox is sneaky, shady, all those things. We know that sometimes the fox can just be the job card. But the other thing, another meaning for the fox is a foreign influence, a foreigner. And along with the bouquet and the fish, I'm not sure about what we're meant to think this person is a loner, as sort of sort of an independent actor. I'm not sure they are, though. I think they're supposed to look like they are, but I don't know that they necessarily are. That fox makes me think, um, you know, there are such wheels within wheels that we're discovering. Uh, because lone actors are often not necessarily lone actors. They might look like they're lone actors. That might be the impression that we're meant to have. But with that fox up there, either the person is themselves a foreigner, the person who, the shooter, or they were influenced by a foreign entity, like a foreign government. And I say that because the bouquet and the fish and the felon. I'm sure that there are governments that would love to be for us to be rid of this person, meaning the felon. And there are lots of different ways that that can be attempted. Hiring someone, which I feel like this is, hiring someone and giving the impression that he's a lone actor would be one of those ways. I don't think it was a false flag. I don't think it was like Butler, Pennsylvania. That was something I was really interested in seeing. Was this staged in the way that I think Butler was? You know, allegedly for entertainment purposes only, blah, blah, blah. That is my opinion, is that Butler was staged and that the felon was in on it. I don't think the felon was in on this, but I do think that there might have been other actors who pushed this guy forward, hoping that he would do the deed and that it would look like a lone guy just did it on his own. But I'm not sure that a lone guy did do it on his own. Well, especially we have, Tower, Cross. Um, this could be a lone actor here, but sacrificing themselves for a greater good. It could have been somebody who, in the days of other events that we've had, it could have been somebody that got radicalized just online that got radicalized. I don't think they are just some crazy in a vacuum. I think they were radicalized. I don't know by whom, but I think that if I think the story that we'll get is that they were a lone actor. I'm not convinced that they were. So that's that. So there was no correspondence dinner, although the felon did get a platform from the White House to give his little speech that he gave. Uh, this is a particularly dangerous month for him, as many people have said, for a lot of different reasons. Uh, so again, to sum up, I think this was someone who was easily swayed in their thinking. I think they thought they would be rewarded had they succeeded. And I think that they are somebody who I think they were used because if you can blame a lone actor, kind of like Tyler Robinson, who's being blamed as the lone actor for the killing of Charlie Kirk, and we know that that's not what happened. He was not a lone actor. I mean, I am of the opinion that, I mean, you can see the video that Charlie Kirk's microphone was weaponized and it's what exploded. It wasn't a shot from Tyler Robinson's gun. So, anyway, I guess the point being, this is not what it may seem to be. Um, they will play it probably as though it's a lone guy, but I don't think it was. Nor though do I think that it was a false flag operation staged by the felon. I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway, I guess we'll know more in the coming days. I'm thinking of coming on tomorrow, maybe, and doing a live and taking your questions. If I do it, it'll be around 4 o'clock, like it usually is, and I'll put the little notice up if I decide to do it. So look for that. I may not. Um, And if I do, it'll be questions of, political, social significance, not personal questions. So if I do it, it'll be tomorrow at 4. So look for an announcement. If you don't see an announcement, it means I'm not doing it. Depends how well I sleep tonight. All right, listen, you all, another day in the books, and tomorrow is another one. So take care.